Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides with Schla. And what's going through my head right now? I've been waking up quote unquote late so many times at this point. It's the new normal. I mean, like that ship has sailed. I don't even think I'm gonna go back to how it was before, which in a way is a little bit of shame because I think it may have been mentally a little bit healthier, but I don't know. My body's like really in this routine to wake up, slop some food in my mouth, and then just go with the day. And it probably has more cons than pros, but I think for the most part, it's like it's pro. The pros it has are probably pretty good. Like I think it probably makes my day perceptively feel shorter. If I had to imagine, there's not many people that are as efficient as me that can wake up that late and then still get to work. Like, I think most people just can't really pull it off because I have my food is already pre-planned and stuff. So I only really need like 20 minutes just to eat and then I'm good to go. So it's definitely like a advantage, I think. So something I should be grateful for that I can plan that out because I'm sure most people just like a total mess, totally inefficient. They'd probably need to they need to set an alarm. People need alarms. I don't even need an alarm. So yeah, it's just no. Anyways, I did make it through the worst of it, and I will get to go home early today, which is nice. But I still have to get through the day. So I have a feeling I'll be like eyeing down that clock. I'll definitely be just like eyeing that thing down like there's no tomorrow because I tend to do that. I mean, part of it is a good thing. It's anticipation, it's excitement, it's, keeping track of the time and my usual thing that I always do. I always love to keep track of the time. It's like very nice thing I can do is just feel good about keeping track of the time and stuff. It's it's a good thing. It's not like, oh, I don't know, I'm like obsessively keeping track of the time, but there's not really a benefit for it. Like if I feel overly stressed, I mean, sometimes I feel overly stressed, but a lot of the time it can also be a positive. It can be like anticipatory, which is, like I said, my feelings about being able to feel a better emotion, like a good, pleasureful emotion stronger than other people. I know GPT likes to push back, and I know it's pushing back for like obvious reasons because there is quite a moral conundrum with surgical precision that needs to be like looked at. Obvious, like I'm not like denying any of that, but I really feel like I'm onto something where like I just don't understand how a person, and again, this isn't based off of status, so we're not basing it off of, well, this person's rich, this person's poor. We're basing it off of these intrinsic values that are like so important. These intrinsic values that are so important that, if somebody is more grateful for things and has a higher capacity to really enjoy and appreciate and feel joy for things, then those things should be allocated to those people. And it really does beg the question of why do some people even deserve joy? Why do some people even deserve fun if they're just going to engage in a fun task and then end up just being back to normal? It's just like, I think it's just a crazy situation, in all honesty. Just such a crazy situation. And I don't know. I mean, GPT just kind of dismisses it, but I don't think it's really went into it. Like, it just kind of said, oh, well, you can't do that because blah, blah. Like, no. I think there's something relevant. I think there's something very relevant to what I'm bringing up here, because we do live in a time where you do see this mostly along class lines. And maybe it's really more of a perspective into humanity where it's like, obviously, like, it's like poor people, everybody wants what they can't have, and so poor people would appreciate the things rich people have so much more than the majority of rich people appreciate them. That being said, would that not just create the same cycle? I mean, potentially. I think it potentially might not, but for the most part, I'm not really sure that that logic makes sense. I mean, I think some people who have really been through a lot would maintain their moral or ethical lens. I don't think they just lose it now that they have money. Although some people, I guess it's probably like that. I guess if you gave them money, they would genuinely act different. I know for most of my life that was probably the case to some extent. There's probably certain things I would have bought, but I wouldn't have done, all the craziness. Like, if I won the lottery, I would have never, I would have handled it better than, like, pretty much anybody. I would have just bought a bunch of, like, expensive computer stuff, and that's probably it. You know what I mean? Maybe, like, a nicer car, but at this point, I actually even have my apprehensions about that. So I think that's like, it's just a good thing to point out. Like, I don't really know. It's definitely a good, like, there's growth. And when I say expensive car, like, I would still want, like, something that's a good value, like, not anything too crazy. You know what I mean? Still, like, under 50,000 or somewhere. Like, I wouldn't be going, like, crazy. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's what I always was more sensible, but I've still gotten more sensible as I've gotten older. Obviously, age does that to you, or at least, age will ideally do that to you. It doesn't always. Some people, I don't really think they grow, and in their 40s, if they won the lottery, they could still blow it and not really use it properly. But yeah, of course, like, the vast majority of it, I would just, invest or something, or just save to, like, I don't know. I would not just blow it. So it's very, like, it's interesting, because I've always had a sense of restraint, but then I go through those episodes where there's just no restraint, and I blow, like, a lot of money, but it's still never, like, I've never just drained a bank account, which I have a feeling that some people with the bipolar, because again, I'm not diagnosed, so I'm not gonna, like, just self-diagnose and say, like, I definitely have it, but we'll talk about, like, symptoms maybe, because they're the symptoms are, that does not need to be diagnosed. Like, I definitely have spending spirals, and whether or not that's attributed to an alleged bipolar disorder is another thing, but I do absolutely 100% have the spending patterns and spending tendencies of somebody with that type of thing. And, but I've recently heard too that the brain in terms of its future planning and risk assessment and stuff, really isn't done developing until your mid-20s. So it kind of begs the question of like, why do we even give young people money? Like, why would you give any amount of money to somebody who their like ability to future plan or like figure things out is compromised? Because we know that's the case for younger people. So why would you do that? I think it just seems kind of like off or crazy or something. I don't know. It's just like a quick thought I've had. I haven't thought much into that one, but I could be dead wrong. I mean, there's the obvious like usual arguments where it's just like, it's good to, I guess, give people some kind of lesson about it. It's like you kind of teach them from a young age, how money works, how to be accountable with it, stuff like that. It's overall like a good lesson, and it's basically like a pretest, some kind of a like a pretest. I'm assuming that's what the argument would be, That's just my assumption. Somebody would tell me that's like the argument. So, yeah, that's probably true. Like, it's like you're kind of supposed to, and society is set up to just pay young people like an atrociously low amount of money and charge them atrociously high car insurance, and you get higher interest rate. So the world likes to punish people for being young, which is, I've talked about how that's probably not a good thing. But I guess the way the world is now, I mean, it does sort of make sense, because you kind of, I think once you hit like 30, I believe your like car insurance and stuff, like it's better. I don't think you deal with like terrible car insurance once you hit 30 or somewhere around there. And also by then you presumably will start making like a reasonable amount of money. So it is kind of baked into the system to accommodate for what I'm talking about already, even though I've been kind of critical of it. I guess in a way it obviously has its logic that we stagger things in the way we do. I just think that the problem is we reward longevity and time like way too much. I mean, it's just too much. It's way too much, because there's so many instances where, again, a person's skill or a person's merit, somebody may deserve a better job so much more than somebody else, and then you have like a bunch of old people clouding the upper positions, and that's obviously like not fair, you know. Um and that is not, why is this not working? That's not good. I just realized my side mirror is not working. I don't know what that's about. Yeah, I'm not really happy about that. And I'm doing the thing, but it's not working. I don't understand. Whatever. I'll probably be okay. Because I'm trying to think, what turns do I have to make where that actually matters? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could actually try to reach out and fix it, even though that's a little bit crazy. Yeah, I actually did. Wow. A little bit though. It's actually still kind of off. Wow. You're probably not supposed to do that kind of stuff, but stick your hand out of a car a little bit on a busy highway. But yeah, the adjustment for the mirror is not working. I don't know if that's because of the cold or what it is, but basically what had happened is I needed to scrape off ice on the mirror, and in doing that I realized like I shifted the little like adjustment thing around. So it messed up where I had it adjusted, and I didn't even know it adjusted like that. So I didn't even see that's how it like worked, right? I think I actually got it now. Wow. Crazy. Crazy. Um but yeah. No, I actually yeah, my mirror looks good now. So that was like smart thinking, but crazy thinking. You know, sticking your hand out of the window on a highway. It's not something I've done before, and it's not something I've done before. It's hopefully something I will not have to do again, but I just did not feel comfortable that I wasn't that mirror was not at a it was like angled off, so I couldn't even like see anything. I didn't notice until I merged onto the highway, because that I think it's the first time in my commute where I need the side mirror like that. So then I noticed that, and I'm like, whoa, like I don't like that, because I don't know, the driver's side mirror. I feel like I've gotten so used to it. Funny story, when I was first driving, I actually just like didn't really use the mirrors, and I would just turn around and look, which is fine, but you know, in retrospect, it's kind of stupid. I think it just took me time to like trust it, if that makes sense, like to get used to kind of how the mirrors work. So I think over time, because I again that's how I like. I really don't like using new tools or trying new things, like unless I really have like a very good awareness of how they work. So like now that I had been driving for like multiple months, then I finally, but I tend to be pretty stubborn with those kind of things. I do. It's the truth. I'm like pretty stubborn about it. Um but yeah, I mean, it that comes with some good, I think. I don't think it's like all bad. But yeah, I think that was pretty impressive. I don't recommend it though. Sticking your hand out of a car at a high speed to adjust the mirror. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. You know, I feel like what am I like over dramatizing it? Like, is it actually not even that big of a deal? Yeah, it's probably, I'm probably just being a little bit over dramatic, but tends to be the case with me. Anyways, what were we actually talking about? I have absolutely no clue. Oh yeah, we were. I mean, I don't remember what we left off on, but I know we were talking about, that whole idea around, like, really, like, there are a lot of people that don't deserve what they have, and I know it's such a complicated thing to get into, but I do think I'm onto something where it's like the paramount thing in this world is like ownership and possession above all else. Like that is like everybody is interested in that, in the ownership and the possession. And, if you commit a crime, you're actually committing a worse crime the more you steal, which is, it's almost sort of backwards because, like, and we've talked about this before. I mean, if somebody owns something and it's stolen, I want to preface though too when I say this kind of stuff, I'm not, I don't want to steal. Like, it's not something that I really want or that I think I would actually be able to pull off. Like, I don't think it would just, I wouldn't feel good. I mean, I'm at a place in life where I don't really, like, I don't know, I wouldn't want to steal. I don't think I'm in that dire straits. I really think most people, well, some people who are rich steal, for, just like an addiction kind of thing. But it may have been more appealing when I was younger, but once, like, if, I don't know, like, I have enough money, and if, like, I really wanted something, I'd be able to buy it, like, so I guess I just doesn't feel right anymore. I think I was more open to thinking about it when I was younger because, I didn't have any money, but I never performed any heists or anything, it would just be like thoughts, but it always was, but again, like, the older I've gotten, the more those thoughts they felt darker. They haven't increased in intensity, but it just doesn't, like, I don't want to steal anything. I don't want to be a thief, and, but I just want to give that preface before I talk about this, because it's not like I want to go steal things. I don't feel the need to do that anymore. Because, like I said, I'm in a place in my life, I feel like I'm pretty fortunate. I don't really have to think in that way. Like, I know some people probably do. There's some people who are probably slaving away, working paycheck to paycheck, and there's a certain product they really want, and it would really lift them up to be able to go to a store and, steal it. And it's like they don't have money to buy it otherwise, and it would really help them and stuff. And I don't know that I judge that too much. I don't know that I judge it too much, although it is fairly oppositional to the rest of my accountability things. Here's like a good distinction. And I think this is probably one of the more, like, contrarian points that I occupy, is that I'm more interested in accountabilities about feelings and emotions. I don't really care as much about, like, a physical, material kind of punishment system. It's just not, I don't, like, I almost wonder if this might be the genius moment right here. Because before now, I've always talked on it on terms of, like, you would get fined. If you were friends with someone for a long time and you blocked them over something petty, which has happened to me multiple times, and I've heard about it. Like, those types of people need to be punished. They would get, like, a hefty fine would hit their bank account, $500 lost, or, $1,000 even, depending on how bad the situation was. I just realized, though, if everybody's hooked up on Neuralinks, a far more productive system would be to simply bombard with an intrusive thought how the person feels. Does that make sense? So there's no fines, because the fines, that doesn't even make that much sense, because I don't even, sorry, I'm just, like, really getting ticked off because I don't know, they did something to the road that I don't like. And I'm just kind of noticing it and realizing it now, and I just don't like it. It's like really throwing me off mentally. Ugh. Now these people are really messing me up. Yeah, I don't know what they did to the road, but it like, oh my gosh, sorry, it just really ticked me off because I didn't even know what was happening, you know? Anyways, that's gonna be like really annoying. That's really gonna be annoying. But whatever. The whole point is, yeah, like why is a material fine? I mean, maybe there could be like a minor material fine just to have like more money for tax revenue. But I think the main thing should be a harassing, intrusive thought just equal to how the other person feels. So if you hurt somebody, you get a harassment. You get harassed. You get like a barrage of intrusive thoughts reminding you how you made the other person feel. And it would be true, and it would be like perfect. You know, it wouldn't be over dramatized. You would just have a transcript reminding you of how the other person felt until you made up with them. And then once you made up with them, then, you know, those intrusive thoughts would go away. I really think that is a better system. And isn't that interesting? Like, I do believe in material accountability. I don't see that as big of a problem. Like, I think in the current society, you largely do have material accountability. Like, that's fine. I don't really think that many people are getting away with theft. Now, there's a lot of rich people who get away with theft. You know, we look into banks charging low balance fees and overdraft fees and, you know, overcharge fees. There is actually a problem there where it's like, no, you shouldn't be grabbing fees out of people just for being poor. Like, it's ridiculous. I mean, if it was, I actually would agree with it if we were in a society where, you know, it was really down to like responsibility. But in a lot of ways, it's not. You know, in a lot of ways, it's like many people, like, they're not making enough money to function. And so it's not like it's not anything against the person if they can't afford to survive. Like, in this day and age, it's like, I don't blame the person, you know? But I agree with it in theory, and I think that's how most people think about it, is like, well, you know, people are poor because of poor choices. They make bad choices in life, and then but that's not really how it is in the current economy. You know, I think there's a lot of people who could be very responsible, and if they're coming from a family with zero generational wealth, they're probably just not gonna get through. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably just not gonna happen. So yeah, I mean, I just think that's kind of like an important thing to point out. But yeah, that's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. So yeah, what material wealth or material, like, no, things are twisted right now. It's like you get fined for being poor. You get, you know, better credit card rewards for being rich. The way things work, that does not make any sense. You know, it just doesn't. It's backwards. You get rewarded for making more money. You get, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. Because, yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. It's not really fair. It would be good and fair if you had a system where you at least gave people enough money to make ends meet, and then, yeah, if they blew it all, it's kind of like, well, that's on them. I think that's how people think it is, but we're past that point. Like, at this point, even somebody walking a straight path is going to be broke. And that comes with a lot of problems. You know, it just does. It just comes with a lot of problems. So, I don't know. It's really something for somebody to think about. But I'm sure most people in their head, they still have that opinion that it's, you know, like how it was like a couple decades ago, where really the only, you know, as long as you're working full time, even if you made low income, the only reason why you wouldn't be able to survive is just because of just like, you know, irresponsible spending. But that, like that, those days are long over. You know, they just are. Like, that is not the problem at this rate. At this point, it's just not. Plenty of people who live responsibly, who are responsible, who just, you know, they just don't make enough money. And what I was going to say is, it gets pretty complicated because it also gets into like cars and stuff. Like, if somebody buys, let's say, I don't know, just like some regular person doesn't really know much, they buy a Volkswagen, the MSRP is pretty comparable to other cars, but, you know, then a couple years down the line, now problems start happening with it, as is more common with Volkswagen. You know, it's just a less reliable brand. And they're like running with all these bills that they can't really afford, and they're thinking, you know, they got a cheaper economy car, what's going on? I don't know that everybody is like that up in the air, but I'm sure that has happened to people before, where, you know, they're not really thinking about the long-term cost of ownership. And then that's like another thing where you get into the unfairness of society, is it's like completely unequal situations from the jump. You know, like somebody having a Toyota is automatically in a better place than somebody who has the Volkswagen. Like, they're just going to be better off statistically. And so, I mean, part of it comes down to personal choice, part of it comes down to like some other factors and things like that. I don't really know. Oh my gosh, I'm not happy with this. Like, anyways, yeah, but and I guess in some ways, like, you might think that's fair. Like, oh, the person who gets the ho hum Honda should be, like, they should have less issues than the person who gets the nice Volkswagen, you know, and that's like a part of the system. It's a part of just how this world works. Like, if you want the fancier thing, you have to be. But I'm saying a lot of people don't. I really feel like a lot of people get in a pickle. I mean, even in some cases, it's like an American car brand that is just way less reliable, and a ton of people buy American cars. And it's because, like, why wouldn't you? I mean, you know, you're living in America, and it kind of just feels better to be supporting an American company. So a lot of Americans are incentivized to do it. Like, I believe the sales, I mean, Toyota may be at the top, but other than that, I think Chevy and Ford are pretty high in terms of, like, I want to say that a majority of cars sold in America are American cars. Guess I can't, like, I don't know that for certain, but I have looked at the car brand sales a few times, but it's a little bit of a tricky judgment because both Honda and Toyota do sell like a ton. So, but I really feel like between all the American brands, that probably is a plurality at least of American car sales. I'd have to imagine that that's the case. I don't have the data right in front of me, but it's like I think so, and it makes sense. You know, it really makes sense that a lot of people just want to buy an American car, but if you do that, you're going to be hit with likely more problems down the road, and then now you have people who are already like undereducated to begin with getting hit with a consequence for their poor decision. But that was like, and there really is a disparity nowadays, right? Because technology, for some people like me, it's made it so when I get a car, like, I hyper research into it. I'm not making a stupid decision because, unlike any other point in history, we have access to the internet. There's like a treasure trove of like data and what's the most and least reliable, and you can really see this stuff. But the problem is, most people just they don't go that far with it. They just don't. You know, a majority of people are just, what technology has done to them is made their attention span a million times shorter because of TikTok. It has not relevantly improved their life, like, for if they didn't have it. And so that's like the big issue with tech. I mean, even at this point with my show, like, obviously tech has been a godsend. I've been able, you know, even though the show hasn't been successful yet, I've recorded and produced so much content. Most people, like, I would say over 80%, do not do anything productive with tech. It just enters their life as a means to distract them and essentially make it worse. You know, it makes it better in an entertainment and a quelling boredom sense, but in terms of real result, it's not good. You know, it doesn't actually help any. But it just overcharges the hedonistic path, and then, you know, is not a very good situation at all. So yeah, it hasn't been helpful for most people, tech. You know that? Like, it just has not been an aid. The majority of people, it's just been like not a good not a good thing. So yeah. Anyways, no, why am I doing that? I think my brain's not really functioning properly. Let's see. And finally, oh my gosh, I'm not even like, oh my gosh. I might miss a minute on the sign in. Oh my gosh, that's going to be so stupid. That's like the first time in who knows how long that oh, I did. Wow. I like just missed a minute by 9 seconds. That's crazy. That's like the first time I've done that in a long time. You know. Yeah, that, I don't know. I was just so distracted and kind of, I mean, it's I think it's been a good episode. I've liked it. But wow, that really it's just like for no reason just lost an entire minute. Lost a whole minute of pay. You really don't like to see it. Anyways, Anyways. What else is there to talk about? I don't know. It was a good episode. Said it wasn't transcripted, but that's nothing, man. That's nothing. Ugh. All right, let's get it in gear, guys. 1 day left. Just one short day left. It's been a long week. It's been a long week. But we're here. We made it. Well, we didn't make it yet. But I mean, the worst of it's really out of the way, you know. Yeah, I think like the waking up in the morning is probably but I don't even know why I'm sure. I'm just waking up. All right, anyways, I'd say it's been schla, now it's time to buy schla. So, see you schla.